I've been in the industry for going on 16 years, started in mortgage protection. It didn't really fit my style.
Had a small investigations firm. We relocated to Tennessee. We both were in small businesses. And so really just decided that this was the path to go.
Drives Luke crazy when he sees my desktop. It's my organized chaos.
I was wrong. And so I really learned that it's just, you have to be consistent. You have to call, you have to reach out to these people. Text message, it goes day 1, day 2, day 4, and I think day 7. By day 7, they've received emails at those times as well, with links. It just pretty much says, hey, we get it. Just let us know either way, basically. We're going to go ahead and move on if you're not. And a lot of times we'll get that font saying like, no, I'm not interested, right?
Thanks everyone for joining in. If you guys have questions as we're going along, comment anything, please chime in. Today we brought on Luke and Jen Swaggart. They are married and they are a great team. So I thought we'd bring them on today and just talk to them, kind of get some of their processes. And they've had really a lot of success recently. And, I just thought we'd bring them on, have you guys ask some questions. We have some questions for them as well. And we'll just talk about, how they got to where they are now and what they're doing.
Hi, again, I'm Jennifer. I've been in the industry for going on 16 years, started in mortgage protection. It didn't really fit my style. So I quickly pivoted to, I was doing policy reviews and converting term policies to permanent ones. And I found that that was much more me as far as more consultative, more personal, getting to know your client a little bit better, that kind of thing. So that, of course, evolved later on into annuities and other things. Luke joined on about 2-3 years ago, and I'll let him introduce himself.
Did private investigations for about a decade, had a small investigations firm. We relocated to Tennessee. We both were in small businesses. And so really just decided that this was the path to go. I tried the mortgage protection, did not do well at that, but cut my teeth on that for a little while, and then moved a little bit more IUL and then annuities, and then have really worked on just more of a support role with Jen. So Jen's just a closer. Jen's a person that will listen, and like she spends time with the clients. And so our focus really was, as I'm learning, I'm doing more of the back end stuff. I'm more of an organizer anyways. And so when it came to like Vroom, I'm like, okay, how do we crack this code, or how to figure it out? And I really didn't come with a ton of experience, but I also didn't come with the experience of doing things in person. So digital is all I know. So I think I didn't have to forget certain aspects of what we were doing.
It is a process that you have to figure out, crack the code, like you said, and what works for people or leads. One state may not work in another state. So you really have to figure out how to do that, figure out how you can have the lead build trust in you, and figure out, how to build that rapport along with trust and those kind of things. So that's kind of leads me to my next question. How do you all set up the appointments and talking to the lead? Do you do that, Luke? Do you do that, Jen? How do you guys structure that kind of aspect of it?
Lead comes in, I'm hooked up to her account. We do have separate accounts, but I was hooked up to her. So when it comes through, I'll go ahead and I'll call them. We do have trigger links and stuff that we email and text to them. So I like to see that they click that link, because my goal is when I talk to them, they've actually referenced our company. The first call, all I'm doing is setting an appointment. So, I mean, it's pretty much all I'm doing is, calling in regards to secured guaranteed retirement account. Your survey has been assigned to our advisory firm. I'm reaching out to schedule a time for you, and Jennifer and Nathan are actually the founders of our firm, Empower to Retire. Before I go ahead and scheduling, we're able to review the information. Prior to this, they're getting text messages with links and trigger links that they'll click on that take them to videos explaining our process. They're getting emails. They're getting a link to our Better Business Bureau profile right out the gate. It's all about trust. And if you don't have that, these people don't know who you are. So we just try to make sure that they're reading our information. I'm confirming their email. I give them a brief overview of Empowered to Retire. So we just do that. And I just set it, and pretty much I don't answer any questions. I just kind of deflect. There was a moment where I started to get a lot more knowledge in the industry, and so I wanted to like spout it off on the phone, and that was the worst mistake, because I'm just vomiting from the mouth and it's a 20-minute conversation, and then Jennifer might get on and just contradict what I said type thing. So I just stick to the script. All I want to do is set the appointment and get it over to Jen, and Jen can do that. Make sure they have our information, make sure they review it, tell them you need to review this. We're going to be going over this information and so forth. And then after we set the appointment, they're going to get reminders the day before or 20 minutes before, something like that. This is what we do. This is the script that that I use. It's not the same one that I use every time. There's a couple of them in there, and all our scripts are always just kind of tweaking them here and there based on, buzzwords that we like, or we're just tired of saying the same thing over and over.
What do you have exactly goes out at what time? So as soon as you get that lead, what do they get?
They come in and they visit the page, they submit the survey, we get the lead coming in. Instantly, they're going to get a text and a email, and it will have a meet the team. It'll click the video, who we are, what we're about. We have what to expect video that goes out. We have a link to our Better Business Bureau profile. I would highly recommend if anybody has a business that you just register that, get some of your clients to make some reviews for you, because people are going to be researching you and they have it all at their fingertips. We got pretty aggressive with our text messaging in terms of our wording. Text message, it goes day 1, day 2, day 4, and I think day 7. By day 7, they've received emails at those times as well, with links, and it just pretty much says, hey, we get it. We don't, just let us know either way. Basically, at this point, we're gonna go ahead and move on if you're not. And a lot of times we'll get a response saying like, no, I'm not interested. Right? Like they finally respond because they have that out. They're looking at it. They're tricky.
I was going to ask, so you kind of ran over your how you get them on the phone and things like that. I was going to ask you too, do you ever ask a question, Luke, when you first get on? What did you see in that ad that got your attention? What brings you to me today? Do you ever start the conversation like that?
I did, and those would be the type of questions that when I was setting the appointment would send me over into the area I wasn't supposed to go. So when I run my own appointments, I am taking and running my own first appointments too and all that stuff. I will. I mean, I usually, if I know that it goes right, I have time right now. Oh, perfect. Oh, so, what really piques your interest, and tell me what you're looking for. Wow. What can we do for you?
Right.
Just kind of right off the bat and let them start talking. You're gonna get most of your information that way anyways. And then you could go back and fill in the information. And I found it'll be a little bit quicker because I'm like, I can't get under 30 minutes on a first phone call to save my life. And I mean, I'm set on these Zoom calls and I hear, they're like 15 minutes, they're in and out. And I get close to it. And it's when I follow that script and I let them talk, I could fill that out. And then I could fill in the questions, and I was able to get a decent amount of time. I'm not trying to rush it, but like I will talk and sidetrack, and you'll ask me a question and I'll be talking about 3 different topics 5 minutes later.
You're right. If you ask one question, that can lead them to ramble off a lot of your answers that you're looking. How long does your appointments usually last? Like, is there a time that you try to keep it to, or?
So the first appointment, I try to keep it under a half an hour. But if you really, really connect with somebody, I do tend to spend probably more time than I should. But you know what? I think I get more people that way, more clients that way. So I would say I do try to keep it under a half an hour. If I'm busy, I'm like 15 minutes and I'll be more on it. Like I'll be more cognizant. My second and third appointments I block out an hour minimum, an hour for the second, maybe an hour and a half for the third if I feel like it's going to be a written type of situation. Because the way my appointments go, the first appointment will be the fact finding, getting all the information. In between the first and the second, if they don't have all the information, for example, like their social security, that kind of thing, we'll give them instructions. Second appointment, more than likely I will share with them what I plan to do, if that's kind of the rhythm it's going, illustrations and so forth. And then the third appointment, I'm expecting, are we doing something or are we not?
And if you have objections, what kind of objections do you get?
I try to hedge the objections before they happen. I mean, that's kind of the goal. I guess some things that people would say is, what is a secure guaranteed retirement account? That kind of thing. I think Luke probably gets that more than me, but it's, how we explain it. Look, it's more of a concept. It's not one thing. It can mean a lot of different things for people. It depends on your particular situation, right? So I think that might be one. But one thing I really try to convey to clients is, look, this is education. Like my job is to educate you on what's available. Whether you exercise using whatever my recommendation is or not is completely up to you. So I kind of put it more on them and less salesy, I guess. But I really try to convey that it is education and really just helping them understand where there is a hole or where there is a problem, right? And what needs to be address.
Now, illustrations. Do you send out the illustrations to them? I know that's a great
I know
question.
this is
Everyone
like,
asks.
I know.
Yeah, like, oh my gosh,
So,
yeah.
everybody has their own opinion on this.
Mm,
I do. So I'll go over on the second appointment on certain parts only. I purposely leave it in there. It's an 18-page illustration. I'll
mm,
roll through and I'll say, look, this is 18 pages. At the end of our conversation, I'm going to be sending this to you. So I say that for two reasons. One, because I really am going to send it. And two, I want them to know that I'm not going to try to close them on that call, right? This is only the second
mm,
meeting. So I'm like, look, at the end of the call, I'll be sending you this and a few other pieces of information so that you can read it in its entirety. You'll see a lot of boring things in there that I'm not going to go over. I'm only going to highlight certain things. At the end of that call, I'll say, hey, I'm going to send you this illustration. I'm going to send you the corporate overview or the snapshot to the company. XYZ company, it's their financials, it's all that, right? Because people want to know how strong the company is. So I'll send them that. I'll send them sometimes a rate sheet, depending on how educated they are. And I also will send them sometimes a brochure, things of that nature, 3-4 things. And then, I'll say, I want you to have enough time to be able to look at all this stuff. If I schedule it, if it's Monday, if I schedule on Thursday, does that give you enough time to read through everything? Can I get you to commit to read through everything? Because you'll get people that are like, oh, I didn't
yeah,
read it, whatever.
yeah.
And I'm like, look, no, you have to read through it.
Mm,
You don't got to read the
mm,
disclosures, whatever. But
right.
yes, I want you to read it pretty much in its entirety, right? Yes, I can commit to doing that. Great. So we'll meet again on Thursday. I want you to write down your questions because if you're anything like me, I'll be like, oh, I have a question about this and I'll forget. Write them down. Because that way on Thursday, we can go through each and every question that you'll have and all that stuff. But I do send it. I do send it in its entirety.
I like that though. I think it gives them something to look at. Like you said, you're not hiding anything. And I think by that point, you know how that process is going to go. But I think by this point, you already have that relationship built, that rapport built, that you kind of know who to send it, you know when to do it. So, and if it's already that far into it, then more than likely, I'm sure, like you said, it does happen, but sometimes more than likely it probably would go to the next step and just kind of continue to follow through.
And if I get a feeling on the second appointment that they're just
Right,
like, yeah, I'll call you. And I'm like, yeah, I'm cool. So,
right,
I don't waste my time spent
right,
sending things. I won't tell them I'll send them things because I'm not. Like,
right.
they're not serious, so I'm not serious. You know what I mean? Like, it's fine.
Exactly.
I'd rather not waste time on either end. So,
Like you can tell, like even after that first appointment, you can tell who is serious and who is not. And I think somebody that's serious, this is their nest egg. They've saved their entire lives for all these things. Me, if I'm going to do that, I'm going to read every freaking piece of paper I can, find, read all the information. And I think anyone who's serious, they would do the same.